Hello and welcome to the Academy of Conscious Creators webinar, where we have extraordinary discussions to empower you to create the story of your life. Each week you will discover how to overcome painful patterns of mental, emotional and physical distress, how to drop the mask of your public persona, and revolutionary steps of what you can do to awaken your true health and potential. You have the power to create a new story of your life starting right now. So, what's your story? If you've learned how to read and write, you'll remember having to construct sentences using grammar, nouns, verbs and adjectives, though I'm not sure you will have considered the power behind your words and the true meaning of spelling. I'm your host Victoria and welcome to our show. Today Pete and I will discuss why being able to express ourselves and speak our truth is key to aligning with our desired reality. Welcome Pete. What can you share on today's topic?
Hi Victoria, good to be with you again and to be back with the listeners. So, following on from that intro, I think a key thing here is when we're learning to understand what communication is all about, that understanding is really one-dimensional. What we're given the impression is that we're just here to learn how to spell, formulate words and utter sounds in order to get on in the world. But actually, there's another level that's going on that we're not taught about. And that is that, the words that we speak and spell, those words actually have power. And that power can be used to affect our physical reality and by extension to actually create it. And so, when you think about it, this is really what the nature of spelling truly is. So let's take, a popular example, let's say, Harry Potter. So Harry Potter will, utter his spell, ad infinitum or whatever it is he says. And basically what he's doing is he's using words to create a physical effect. And this is exactly what the power of words and spelling really is, but we don't actually understand that. So the interesting thing is that, we're given a number of pointers in life, as to the fact that this is really so, right? And I think one of the biggest pointers that there is that we often just don't take any notice of is in the Bible. Now, whether you're a religious person or not, you have probably heard of the words of John 1, which are, at first there was the Word, and the Word was with God. And basically what that means is that, the supreme being, God, or however you want to refer to it as, through making a sound and creating a vibration, that's how this reality came into being. So, that's one of the first pointers that we're given that was written, a number of thousands of years ago. Now let's kind of fast forward a bit and, let's look at perhaps, a more scientific approach to that. Mm-hmm. So there's a guy called Dr. Emoto, a Japanese businessman who was also a part-time scientist. And he did a lot of work on what happens with water when you expose water to certain words or certain sounds. And basically what he did was he took water and he would say certain words to it, or he'd write certain words down and put them on the side of the container with the water in it, or he'd play music to the water, whether it's positive or kind of, aggressive music. And what he found was that when he froze the water and then looked at the crystals, the shape of the crystals were, in the case where positive words were spoken or put on the side of the jar, the shape of the crystals were symmetrical, beautiful and pretty, and arranged fantastically.
Mm-hmm. I've seen it like snowflakes, right?
That's right. That's exactly it. Yeah. Conversely, the shape of the crystals for the water that was exposed to negative sounding words and kind of aggressive music, the crystals were kind of malformed and didn't look very nice at all. So the relevance there is that because we are 70% water. Every time we are speaking these words or even thinking the words, because, whether it's sound or it's a thought, it's still a vibration. These vibrations are having a physical effect on us, the people that we're around, and by extension, also on reality at large. So there's a really, really important backstory going here in terms of what words are about and how powerful they really are. So again, a long intro there, but I wanted to kind of put that across because I think it's really important.
Yeah, no, and really fascinating. And I'm not sure how many listeners would have considered these points. So thank you. And just on the back of being able to express ourselves, often many of us struggle with being able to express ourselves, or we might react to what somebody said and spill out all the wrong things and then have to backtrack later and make apologies. Or we might just not be very good at being able to express what our truth is, because perhaps we don't want to upset anyone else. So we kind of play it safe. So even though speaking of our truth is empowering, rather than holding our tongue, how and when we express ourselves is quite important, right? And if we're feeling triggered by what someone said or did, then often the best course of action is obviously silence is golden, so that we can then really discern what it is we want to express. So is there an exercise that you might be able to share that can help our listeners help them better manage how they express themselves and expressing what they really mean rather than reaction based?
Yeah, so we have an exercise at the Academy, which is really about teaching the students how to re-experience the bodily sensations that were triggered when they went through these events, right? So let's say they got into an argument, or someone shouted at them, or somebody referred to them in a way that they didn't like, they're uncomfortable with, or somebody had written something about them which they didn't like when they read it. So so these words, these vibrations, they've created a physical sensation within the body of the person, of the student. And so the exercises are specific ways that the student can tap into that feeling, and then through these exercises start to change that from the kind of like the yucky sensations into positive feelings, ones that uplift you and then push you back forward again. So basically what we're teaching them to do is to unravel the negative effects of words and spelling, and then basically transmute it into an energy that has a positive physical effect on the body. And then that will obviously affect your thoughts and so forth and so on. So we certainly do that. And then there's like a deeper aspect of that particular exercise and those teachings, in that the student also starts to become aware of patterns of behavior or patterns within their own psyche that they are, which are the basis for them being triggered on a regular basis. So over time, what they start to learn is, okay, so these are the trigger points that I had before, and then through working through them, they can kind of undo them. And what that means is that life doesn't become so reactionary anymore. You become much more in control, and people aren't pressing your buttons all the time. So that's the kind of the deeper side of that exercise. But yeah, we certainly look at doing that within the Academy.
No, and that's really, I think, really crucial right now, to be able to discern, what is our truth, or what have we taken on from our past, or perhaps that someone else told us about ourselves that we've believed, and taken that belief into how we then interact with people going forward. And once we're able to take more responsibility and decide in each moment who we are and how we wish to respond and show up, we can start to recognize the kind of language that we're using. So are we using language that perhaps disregards the other person's comments or truths, and maybe even antagonizes them? Or are we able to come from a place that's more kind and certain in our expression, so that we're able to connect more with how we feel, and not just believe what someone else tells us we should be thinking or feeling? and then we're better able to communicate our emotions with more love and compassion, I guess. And therefore, whatever we're communicating will be received much better by the other person, right?
Yeah, exactly. And those are points very well made. Because ultimately, what we're saying here is, take on board all that you just said there, and we kind of wrap that up into the fact that, at the academy, we're teaching people how to consciously create the story of the life that they want to experience, right? By embodying what you just said there. And I think, a key part of that as well is that obviously, the voices in our heads. Yeah. No one can hear them, but we can hear them. And again, they are a vibration. They have an effect on what's happening to us and to our body and to our lives. And so we really want to make sure that we've got that under wraps, and that's we're the ones in control of the way that we're thinking, and making sure that the thoughts and the vibrations that are going through the mind are actually manifesting in ways that lift us up and move us forward, as opposed to keep holding us back. And there's another technique as well that we cover in the academy.
Great.
Which is like a breathing technique to help with people's manifestation, in terms of bringing that into reality, which they want to occur. And so a key part of that as well is that you need to make sure that you are tapping into what's your truth more and more regularly, because this is then what you want to start to see manifest, right? You want these types of experiences that resonate with who you are to be part of your everyday life. And so the more you can kind of tune into who you are, what your truth is all about, then the combination of being clear on that and then adding that to the techniques, for example, in terms of how to breathe properly, this is what enables you to bring forth and start to experience a more joyful life, and a life that you kind of haven't been dreaming about and thinking about, rather than living a life that you just end up living just because you're going through the motions and reacting to this and reacting to that. So being clear in who you are, being clear in what your truth is all about is a key point in all of this. So once you can master that and get it to grips with it, then you can start to see your life really transforming. So it's exciting things.
And it's a journey, really, isn't it? You just keep on going and keep on improving, and once we're able to start changing our inner dialogue and recognizing when all of those worry thoughts keep going around on repeat, and therefore we're expressing that kind of language as well, aren't we? The worrying language, or maybe even trying to be perfect in how we handle ourselves. And actually, once we let go of the perfectionism and trying to prove our worth, we can acknowledge our truth as well as another one's truth, and then we're able to open up to seeing a bigger perspective.
Yeah, exactly. And so it's really all about embodying the thoughts and the feelings and the language of our desires, that the thing we desire, is compelled to kind of, manifest itself. It's about identifying not with the external experiences, but it's really about, recognizing that the future that you want to create is based on your ability to keep your attention on the intention behind what it is that you want to occur. So that's really what it's all about. So
right. And that's it sounds so simple, but if we think how easy it is to slip into sort of our negative patterns, or not even expecting that we can create good things for ourselves. So what you're saying is that if we start to speak using words as if we already have that which we want in our life, then we actually start attracting that into our life, rather than using words that's still associated with lacking and not having what it is that we want.
Yes, that's right. Align with what you want and disalign, if that's a word, with what you don't want. That's exactly it.
Cancel it out. Awesome. Well, this is really great, Pete. Thank you so much for coming back today. I'm sure our listeners will have taken away some valuable learnings today. So just to summarize, we discussed that words have power, and that expressing ourselves and our truth allows others to hear and respond with compassion rather than resistance. And that the first steps are to start changing our inner dialogue to reflect that which we want to have rather than what we don't want. And so effectively we're speaking our dreams into reality.
Exactly.
Awesome. Well, thank you for another interesting discussion, Pete. And if the listeners would like to continue this conversation with us, please join our weekly Facebook Live answer session. And we look forward to seeing you next time.
Okay.